total disclosure across all platforms where we explore the mysteries of the unknown. From sightings to conspiracy theories, we dive deep into the unexplained occurrences in our skies and on the ground. If you're passionate about exploring the unknown and you're intrigued by the possibility of extraterrestrial life, interdimensional life, all of it, and it possibly even being here, then you're in the right place. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on one of our great podcast platforms, then leave a review, 5 stars if you can, like that Uber driver or driver who delivered your Big Mac last night. I know you gave him 5 stars. So, it's free. It takes 2 seconds. Leave us a review. All right. Tonight we're going to be doing a listener experiencer volume as our revamped volume number 6. So I believe this is our 6th listener experiencer who's going to come on the show and kind of talk about what's been going on to them. And, there's a stark resemblance with this current witness or experiencer who the story very much reminds me of Chris Bledsoe. And it hits on a lot of the same themes. So it's going to give me a good chance to ask some of the questions I would ask Chris. And, I have talked to Chris many times, trying to get him on the show, but that's, easier said than done. We're still working on it, Chris. Come on. But here we go. Andy Tominaga. What's up, brother?
Hey, thanks for having me, Tyler. I really appreciate it. I know I've been hounded to try to get this conversation going on, but this has just kind of been going on for months, and I just finally have had the courage to kind of come forward. And part of it was through Chris Bledsoe. If it wasn't for him, sharing about his book, the UFO of God, I don't think I would have had the courage to come forward, especially for me, because as being a pharmacist, you as a healthcare professional, there's a lot of credibility and professionalism on the line. And so for me to be doing this, it's a stretch, but knowing that there are experiencers like Chris out there and other people who may be having those similar experiences, I felt comfortable coming forward, especially with the amount of orbs that I've been seeing. And so I just kind of wanted to share my story with people and kind of get an understanding of what I've been going through.
Well, I think that is very brave, and I think it is also very telling. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I am 32, so
You're
you're older than
32.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're a year older than I am.
Mm-hmm.
How did you know that?
I mean, I've watched you.
Oh, okay.
I like to know who I'm talking with too. I don't like to sound
I'm like,
creepy.
how the hell did you know that?
Yeah,
No. But all right, yeah. So yeah, you're older than I am. So that's and listen, I have my own experience, and I didn't talk about it for so long out in the public. Even being in the Hollywood industry, I didn't want to go that far. So I understand. And I think with your situation, especially, it is telling though that the world is changing. And what gets me is this story out of Boeing. It really throws me back because, like, do you remember? I mean, it was a little before our time, but we did grow up in that era where our parents and their parents, like astronauts, they were American heroes or national heroes out of their countries. And somehow, like, the space race ended, the Cold War ended, and the money and the viewership ended for the Apollo missions. So they ended up canceling and cutting like the missions mission budget, but NASA obviously continued to be a thing. But private aerospace is becoming very, very dominant in the sector. Private space travel, I don't think is too far away. We see guys like Jeff Bezos. I mean, they took Captain Kirk to space, right? So, I mean, space is going to be commercialized thing soon. But we got these Boeing, and Boeing is a company that, and I know we're going to be talking about you today, but I want to spend a couple minutes, even if we didn't get to the second topic. I want to spend a couple minutes saying that how much of an outrage it is that this isn't on the news every single day. And I decided that every single day on Twitter, I am going to tag NASA, I'm going to tag Boeing, and I'm going to remind them of each day that those astronauts are up there. They were supposed to be up there for 8 days, and now they're not going to be able to come home till 2025.
Yeah.
For like 4 months, and we still have a long ways to go.
Yeah, I think part of with the national media, and I think part of the platforms of like what you're doing is, I feel like with nowadays is the national media is something that we can trust, and I think a lot of the public audience is, and kind of just general public, are realizing that there are some questions based on what they're covering, why they're covering, and what they're saying. Some of it just, if you're looking at it from like a, kind of a critique aspect of things, you kind of question, what's the motive of what they're covering and why they're covering it? And I agree. I think it probably should be on, especially with this whole topic itself, like, the fact with David Grush, it was there for, maybe a month or so, and then it kind of just died away.
That
and
was probably the closest we came to full on disclosure. If the media was truly free and fair, that would have been it. That would have been it.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been cookie crumbles.
It's like, what are the most important topics that we are discussing in our time? I mean, you think about it, and
you know what it is? You know what it is? Is what dress Kim Kardashian is wearing to the Met Gala. That is more important to the public than David Grush. Actually, better comparison, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. That trial got more attention. I didn't even need to say anymore.
That's the power of the national media. You can address and you can cover what you want and why you want to do it. And, people will listen because, I think for me personally, back in 2017, when this kind of whole with, Tom DeLonge and Liz Lu and all those guys and, coming forward about it, I was busy in pharmacy school. I wasn't paying attention to it because, what my interpretation of the national media was if it's important enough for them to coverage and it's important to me, they will do so. And I think it was that underlying trust that kind of has now kind of dwindled, because when you're actually doing your own research, you're going, whoa, like what's going on? Like the Arrow report, with Kirkpatrick, you're like, is it me being, having a doctorate, I'm looking and I'm reading what the report says. And since I've been following it for over a year, I'm like, what the hell is this?
Right.
Like it's the most obvious enraging thing, because if you actually are following it, you realize what's going on. Right. And it makes people like myself more engaged on the matter.
No, check out this. So apparently the stranded astronauts reported hearing eerie pulsing sound. Mm-hmm. So this was reported 7 hours ago. Eerie pulsing sound coming from troubled Boeing spacecraft. And then NASA obviously, put out their response and like they always do. But like so the beleaguered Boeing Starliner spacecraft has been making alarming noises while docked to the ISS, International Space Station, causing one of the astronauts in space to make an urgent report to ground control. Major Tom, sorry, couldn't resist. Mm-hmm. The strange sound was first reported on Saturday morning. But guys, this is this story. These two people right here have been stranded in space and will not be coming back to Earth until at least February. They were supposed to spend 8 days. Imagine if it was you or someone in your family. Imagine this was the space race, the Cold War. These people would be being heralded But because it's Boeing, and this ties into the UFO community especially, because Boeing is what? It's a large aerospace company. They've been having a lot of issues lately. Whistleblowers. We're seeing some of the same themes as the UFO topic, right? Whistleblowers that seem to disappear, if you know what I mean. But yeah, worse than that, these people are just they're being it's being suppressed. It's that they don't want that on the news right now. They don't want that on the news right now. Boeing doesn't need that on the news right now because guess what? Almost every commercial airliner is a Boeing, right? Or whatever, 60, 70% of them are Boeing. So if that caused a little bit of fear, right, that would be mass loss for the commercial airline industry. So they are suppressing this story because of their image. And that, my friends, is how we know we don't live in a free press, free site. So with that being said, let's switch on over to you. But what do you think, man? What do you think about all this shit?
The whistleblowers or Boeing?
But everything.
I mean, I agree. I think there are like patriot whistleblowers who are doing the right thing, but the problem you run into is, the national security and, your clearance, and you're trying, and it's really tough because you're trying to do what's right, but at the same time, you have these obligations. And so, when they're saying, oh, show us the evidence, well, these guys can't do anything about it. And that's why the Whistleblower Act is, and in this whole upcoming legislation is so important for them to be able to kind of talk about maybe what's going on under the sheets of everything, because I think the public is now becoming more and more aware of the matter, and it's only going to get worse, because the secret's all, the stench of it's going to rise to the top at some point.
Yeah, right. And, they went it, I believe they blasted off on like June 5th. So June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, an 8-day trip, 9 months.
Jeez.
9, that's almost 1,000. It's remarkable. It blows my mind. It's just, so I am not going to shut up about this for the next 9 months. Every day, every single day, I'm going to say it. And I'm going to remind people. But listen, man, today's show, it is all about you. So right after this, I want you to start with your story. Okay. So why don't you give us your name, where you're located in the world. You don't have to give us your address, son.
Hey, I don't care. I want everyone to experience what I'm seeing outside. Right. So,
but start off with that, and then I'm gonna ask you some probing questions, and we'll get you going.
Okay, so my name's Andy Tominaga. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, basically downtown. A few,
oh my God.
A few blocks. So the fact that I'm seeing things out there, and I got video, and I've been sending it to people, and it's kind of been more and more of these incidences where I feel what
you're in the same state as Skinwalker.
Yeah. I see when I'm driving to
headquarters.
I literally see his, some of his office is being, I see the Brandon Fugel sign. And I'm like, yeah, man,
I'm in touch with him too.
And you want to know what's funny too? My babysitter actually was the arborist from the most recent season when the sheriff finally had the courage to come forward about, I forget what owner it was, like a couple prior, and he finally admitted that there was a craft that had crashed and then went through the tree. And so
Yeah, that was this most recent season.
yeah, no, my babysitter was the one analyzing the tree. I was like,
no way.
I was like, John, that's you. Okay, you know what? A funny story about John is because I have a twin sister, so I was a little shithead. And so back in the day when he'd get mad at me, the Outcast song, Hey Ya.
Yeah.
So he'd give me a swirly, and then right at the part when it was like, how cold? And then he'd put my head and I'd be like, ice cold. I was a stinker, so I deserved it, but I was laughing so hard. I've been actually trying to reach out to him, but he hasn't replied because I'm like, I wanted to talk to him about my experiences and everything because I wanted to see.
I'm in touch with a lot of the multiple people at the ranch, plus Brandon. So what we talked about before recording, we'll circle back. Okay?
Yeah, I hope so.
But listen, did you have any interest in the UFO topic before your own experiences? What was your what was your how did you get into this topic? Was it your encounter, or did you have interest?
So there was kind of three things that prior. So for the first time, I was, surfing, and Moment of Contact by James Fox. He's
watched, coming on the show in a couple weeks.
Oh, well, tell him he was my influence, because when I was watching,
he's my influence too.
Yeah, because here's the thing for me is like, I like to see it like when someone's telling a story, you can feel it through their emotions, because if they're genuinely, if you feel like there's some like kind of BS behind it, but seeing and hearing what those people in like Brazil and Virginia were going through, you're like, you couldn't make this up. And, and so for me, I was like, if this is real, then, what else could be? And then, the Vegas crash happened and that family came forward and I asked myself, I'm like, why would they come forward and talk about this? I mean, this is a pretty, taboo topic and stuff like that. And so for me, those issues, and then obviously Grush, and then, having those things, I just was like, this has to be legit. Like, we couldn't be, making this up. And then I had some things happen to me that I don't feel comfortable discussing. But it was something where it freaked me out. I would love to share it, but it's something that I'm holding near and dear to my heart. But it was part of the reason why I was going through this hardship for over a year. And how Chris Bledsoe describes it, I was in my deepest, kind of darkest moments of my life, where I basically had lost contact with my family. My girlfriend ended up breaking up with me, who I thought I was going to marry at the time. And I was just trying to look out to the stars for kind of like maybe like a friend in a way. And part of me looking out in the sky and just looking up the stars and just kind of saying like, what is my purpose here? Why am I here? And that's when these orbs started showing up. And that happened like beginning of June, end of May, and they continually show up. I can talk about kind of more and more of my encounters, excuse me. Right. But that's kind of what happened to me. And I feel like it was going through that hardship because I've never kind of gone through that type of circumstance ever. I don't think anyone should ever have to go through what I had to go through personally, Tyler.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. I think, and this is just a theory of mine, because when I saw what I saw with my mother, when I saw what looked, if you've done your research on me, I don't know if you've heard me tell the story. Have you?
Yeah, but I'd love for you to share it again.
Yeah. So when I was in the room with my mother when she passed, she was there talking. She was there, like not there, but she was in there. Her essence was, her consciousness was there. The drugs like the morphine and stuff, they're obviously keeping her sedated, but I was talking to her And then my phone began to buzz, and it was in my left pocket. And for like, we all do it. For like a split second, like you kind of like make, it's those everyday choices you make, like split seconds, right? People don't realize, but think about how many decisions you make on a daily basis in a split second. Like, all right, do I want to go this way or this way? Right? It was one of those decisions. It happened so quick and so instantaneously that within a quarter millisecond, I had looked down and looked back up, and made the conscious decision. I don't care what the fucking text message or call is. It's not worth it right now. But in that time, something crossed my field of vision, went out, and the bed was in the middle of the room. So, okay, if this is the room, her bed's here. The window is here. So, and I am represented here. It crosses and then goes out the window. So, if that makes any sense, so it crossed my field of vision and then out the window. So for it to be like glare, it just didn't. I tried to find every fucking prosaic explanation. Trust me. What I saw was a ball that looked like it bent light around it. It like on a highway, when you look down, that like dispersion, heat, right? It was like that in a ball form, but it was like light was bending around it rather than it having any true solid like color. So it was really weird. But that's my only orb. But it's when we are at our most vulnerable, I think, or maybe even on both spectrums, right? Like total euphoria or total surrender. You're more likely to see beyond the veil.
I think these orbs definitely have that understanding. From what my experience was, they know
that was long-winded. I'm so sorry.
No, I think it complements exactly what I've been experiencing, because it's interesting when you talk about, the emotions and all that sorts. Like when these orbs would come, initially it was through the genuine emotion of just like sorrow, pain, and it was kind of there being uplifting, just seeing that, hey, we're there, we understand what you're going through. And it's interesting how you make the point of like, it, for some reason, when you're looking up to the stars, it knows where you're going to be looking. And like, I've had these questions where I've journaled it, and I'm like, I've asked the question like, why me? And then you'd see an orb come in and then go by, disappear, and then come back and go again. So it's not like a satellite or anything like that. And how it would get brighter and brighter. I have an experience with my buddy. And so I don't generally do like, Stephen Greer, like CE5 and stuff like that. Like, but for my buddy, going through this, I was witnessing more and more orbs, and I finally was getting them on video. So at this point, I was confident enough, because, being a pharmacist, I didn't want people to be like, oh yeah, you're just seeing things, my man. I wanted to have multiple experiences, as well as getting it on video, before I wanted to bring someone along.
Right.
And when I brought him in,
can I pause you?
Yeah.
You being a pharmacist, does anyone, do you get drug tested?
Yeah.
You do get drug tested?
Yeah.
Because like, could anyone be like, he's fucking taking meds?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, if they are concerned about my well-being, but I've been
like, are you hallucinating? Because that's going to be the first question is he on something? Like, do you take any meds?
Yeah. Are you asking me personally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
I take
any
ADHD
meds that would alter perception?
I would say in the setting of what I've been taking for the
Don't
past
name
10.
anything.
Okay. What I mean, I take meds, but in the setting of this, I've been taking for 10 years. And also it
Okay.
doesn't really matter
Understood.
it doesn't matter for me because I have it on video as well as other people witnessing it with me. So it doesn't really matter to me in that way because I got video evidence as well as corroborating evidence from
Right.
other people who've seen these with me.
Right. And I have seen the videos.
What
For
are your
anyone
thoughts on those?
listening, for anyone listening, I would highly advise that for this episode, maybe at this point, you're going to register as listening to the episode, but maybe switch over to YouTube because we're going to throw up some videos. And you know, to our listening audience, guys, share, subscribe on YouTube. We have like 70,000 people that listen. How, show some love on the YouTube side because we're trying to do some bigger and better projects. So, with that being said, I want to, I want to show some of the videos that you did send me because I did see them.
Mm-mm.
But my take on them is we need more evidence because iPhone cameras just aren't
They're
gonna
ass.
cut it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I swore.
No. I've said F word like 4 times
All
already.
right.
I bleep it during.
Yeah, okay.
If I think you can get away with 1.
Okay.
And then I bleep the rest. But what is so? Because all the videos in my eyes, going forward, video evidence is going to start losing its credibility because of the advent of AI. That unless you have the metadata, and I bet you do. So because if you're taking with an iPhone and you have them still saved on your iPhone, then you have the metadata, so you're good. You can back it up with metadata, and maybe with what we talked about earlier, we could show some of that. But without having to show the videos, I want you to talk to me about the first time, the moment of contact, if you will.
Okay. So I was looking at the star. I think so
Give
for
me
me,
as much detail.
yeah.
Bring me back as if
Okay.
I was standing next to you.
Okay. I was out. So all these encounters usually happen in my backyard, and I was looking up at the stars, and I don't know if it's conscientiously, but it was kind of creating this relationship of treating them as if they were their own human, like it was as if it was my own friend in a way. And it was more of like a therapy session, to be honest. And I was looking up, and I was so upset because Shayla, my ex, was like the love of my life, and she wasn't replying anymore, and I was just like, why did you guys do this to me? I didn't deserve any of this from this past year. I had a loving girlfriend who I wanted to marry. I still was in contact with my family and friends, and this whole topic has just pushed me away and turmoiled me. And then I was for minutes, and that's when this yellow orb started to appear, and then it just came out and then slowly started moving, and I knew it wasn't a star because I've been staring at the sky for so long, and it was moving, and I'm like, what is that? And then I asked something like along the lines, because it was a little cloudy on the south side, and I asked it to protect me. And within like a second, and this is all conscious, this is all in my head, something lit up, and it was the cloud was light gray, but it like a spherical mass within the cloud, and there was no thunder or lightning at the time. There was like a purplish thunder, and it kind of outlined this like and it appeared to be like a sphere, and then it went away, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And for me, it startled me in a way, but I also heard about Chris Bledsoe, and so I was like, is this what's going on? And I didn't have like a fear. It was more or less that I was being heard or listened to, and I also felt validated, feeling that they were protecting me. I didn't know what it was. I did,
So it was a yellow orb.
Yeah.
And when you were looking at it, sorry, when you were looking at it, what was it? Self-illuminated? Was it pulsating? Anything? What was the description? Was it just a perfect ball of light?
Yeah, I mean, it was up in the air, and
How
I'm not a what would you call a
you're not an
pilot,
altimeter,
or so I don't know distances, but it was above in the clouds, and so it's hard to describe. The best way to describe it, it was this one video that I sent you, 2 minutes and 30. I think it was the one where it kind of goes over my house and it's really slow. Do you remember that one that I sent you? It's kind of like those, because those are the types of orbs that I see the most often, but they do illuminate and they do get brighter and brighter. And part of that too is through conscientiousness, and it's like them validating what my thoughts were at the time. And I want to talk about everything and why I had the courage to come forward, because it was something with this message that I got that I felt like compelled to come forward.
right? Well, that's what I was gonna get to it.
Okay.
Because I literally just wrote. It's funny. I wrote I'll show it to you after.
Yeah.
But listen, I don't want to bring this up in a way that it makes you feel like I'm labeling.
That's okay.
But do you think? Do you have any faith? Are you faithful? Are you religious?
Dude, I want to, let me tell you the story of how
I was gonna say, are we thinking this is something that's maybe beyond just an extraterrestrial visitation, maybe something more along the lines of what our ancestors would maybe call angelic or divine?
It's hard to know, but I do have a story that I would love to share that it's indescribable, but I kind of
You tell me you saw the lady in white. I'm walking out the door.
It's a little different. It's weird. It's a little different, but it's not. I want to share this. I want to kind of
talk. No, bring it.
Well, let me explain to you let me just kind of go through everything that I've been going through, because it won't make sense until I kind of put a timeline on it. So, let me just kind of get to just talking about seeing these orbs on a nightly basis. So it's kind of my way of therapy, because I treat them as if they're like my best friends, and emotionally, they seem to be really engaged with emotion, and with my hardships and everything like that, seem to be gravitating. And I also think just being authentic and genuine. Initially I told myself I wasn't going to video these things and just kind of create a relationship. But then as time went on, I started videoing it. And then like I said with Harry, because what Harry and I experienced, and he was doing some CE5, and he at the time was telling me that, so he was doing the CE5, but I more or less just look at the stars and then just kind of have that feeling of knowing when something's coming. And at the moment, it was going like south to north or right to left in our vantage point. And at that point, I tapped Harry. And when Harry was describing it to me, what he was saying is he was kind of remote viewing is inside this like craft that he described as like a blue orangish color, and how he kind of called him a traditional alien. But Harry isn't really into the whole UFO topic. But he was mentioning to me that they basically said that Utah is basically kind of a.
But he's a remote viewer.
This is the first time he's ever done it, and so I don't know. This is his story, sharing it to me.
Okay.
I just got him to do the CE5 contact from Stephen Greer because I wanted him to witness what I was experiencing, and so I thought it would be something for him. But for me, I was
okay. So he's not an actual remote viewer.
No.
He had what you would describe as a remote viewing experience.
Exactly.
Okay. Understood.
And he describes it as, you know, he was seeing these, you know, traditional aliens. And at that time, he goes, you know, they're explaining to him that Utah, you know, is a dangerous spot, and they did, you know, were worried about things. And then at that time, Harry goes, well, would you be willing to reveal yourself? And coincidentally enough, at that moment, I see an orb going right to left. And so I tap Harry on the shoulder. I'm like, look up. And so he kind of looks up out of his meditation phase. And then we're seeing this orb. And the best way I described it is the orb was just getting brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter until it was so blinding. And I describe it as when Gandalf comes out of Fangorn Forest and the Two Towers, and everyone just gets blinded by the light. Exactly.
I'm gonna literally put that clip right there now.
You go for it. And then it dimmed out. I saw the orb still going right to left and then slowly dissipate. But Harry says that he was able to see it shoot out and go away. And so we ended up at, you know, we're at my house, and then we ended up describing, because he's never experienced that before. And then you know, he texted our buddies like, yo, I'm not going to, we just witnessed the most surreal thing. And he did a voice memo on it. And so that was validating for me, because I've seen those just like that, getting brighter and brighter. And usually in those moments, it's their way of like kind of validating a message or a thought that I was having in my head, or something important.
Right. The power up. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of similar to when they do the CE5 protocols and then they ask for a power up and point their laser and like do like a little circle around it. And then it powers up and seems to like intensify and then shrink back down to its original size. Right. The power up.
I'm not that great at this. Like I said, I'm not a remote viewer or anything like that. I'm just here experiencing the feelings.
So what color was the orb that you saw? Was it blue and yellow? Like
no, he was describing the inside of whatever this craft was, or blue or orange. When I saw it, from what I recall, it was like a violet color. I'll be honest though, I've seen so many orbs now that sometimes I forget which ones are which, but for that moment, I believe it was a kind of a violet-y color. But I was more we were just, the thing that got to us was just how bright this orb has gotten. Sorry, my dad's calling me. I got to decline that. And so for me, it was one of those experiences that I have had those similar, where the light gets so blinding, it's kind of like unreal. And to kind of going off with like the whole emotion and stuff like that, can I tell you about like kind of the message or everything, or did you still want to talk about this?
No, I think so. So it's safe. So we're on a timeline here,
yeah.
Right? So you go from this very, very vulnerable, like first moment of contact, this initiation with the orbs, and then you start seeing them so frequently that you invite a friend, and you have clearly done a little research because you come across Stephen Greer, CE5, you do the protocols, have this experience, and you're still seeing orbs daily. And as your friend, I want to ask, has your friend maybe gone from skeptic to believer? Yeah.
Yeah. And also he's trying to get me, he's really pushing the Bible and stuff like that, and this being angelic and stuff like that. And so
just all I ask, and I'm saying this, and this is from the community as a whole. Don't eliminate the possibility, but don't label it. Don't label it unless they, and even if they tell you who they are, I wouldn't start labeling it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm a science guy. There's one of these case reports, but you kind of want to get a whole picture on things. And I think we still, I think obviously the government and these private industries are more aware of what's going on, but for new experiencers like myself, this is all kind of at face value. But we also get to hear your guys' communications with these other people and experiencers and the guys who have been in the field to kind of get a better awareness. And I think for me,
did you know that there's this thing in government, there's this what is known as the Collins elite.
Yep.
And they are hardcore evangelical Christians.
Yep.
And they are rumored to be the faction, or at least at the head of the faction in government, that basically tries to kill all funding for any of the scientific programs, any of the special access programs. That's why we're having trouble and it's gone so underground. Partly is because there's this faction in government that thinks that we're tinkering with angels and demons. And I don't think it's fair to bring your faith. I think it's okay. It's totally fair to have faith, to be religious, but you cannot bring that in to the to a laboratory style setting. Not that this phenomena can be put in a laboratory, but you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. I mean, Lou Elizondo's imminent, chapter 8, Angels and Demons. He brings that whole conversation to the table.
Right. Exactly. So continue with so your friend is all right, he's pushing the angelic thing on
Mm-hmm.
you. There's no doubt Chris Bledsoe and the Bledsoe family, Ryan included, they definitely come off thinking kind of the same thing. Do you what scares me is Tom DeLonge and these people in the government. You know, Tom DeLonge to the Stars Academy. I know was involved with Elizondo, obviously, and all them. But, you know, it's clear that Tom is also under the belief that we're dealing with maybe not angels and demons, but highly malevolent and highly benevolent, but then also, you know, neutral.
My question to Tom, too, with these types of things is, how is that a national security problem? Why can't we get an understanding of why it is such a, what it makes them malevolent, what does it? And if they are malevolent, shouldn't we have the right to know, being, citizens, and being concerned for our own safety, if that's the truth?
Right.
That was the one thing.
Like some shadow being that could walk into your fucking house, right? Via the hitchhiker effect, and you don't even know to prepare yourself for that kind of stuff because you're taught and you're groomed through life to ridicule that shit. And then it ends up happening to you and you think you're going crazy.
Exactly.
And then they put you on meds and then they dumb you down and put you in the loony bin, or at least that's how it was for a long time. Yeah, exactly. And, another person, I'm having Dodie back on the show this month. And, the Benowitz thing kills me. And I know it kills him too. But let's get back. You're talking about a message that was sent. How is this message sent?
So I was actually listening to Matt Ford's podcast, and you don't like him?
I didn't say that.
Hey, I listen to everyone's because here's the thing.
I didn't say that. Wait,
no. Here's the thing. You didn't say that.
I had some turbulence with him lately.
Okay. I just think, was it with the Skinwalker thing? Yeah,
me and him kind of had it out on that because I
hear it both ways but I also think too, like, in order to get this type of thing with the the private aerospace, you have to what are the routes, but hopefully they have but we won't go down that route.
Eminent domain cannot be included, and if it is included, it needs to be limited to people that have government contracts only, and government contracts specifically dealing with the advanced anything, that they would have to be tinkered with. It can't be blanket, because all of a sudden we just want to give control to the same government that's fucking lied to us for 90 years. We want to give them blanket control of just seizing all civilian research if they wanted to.
Can I ask you the
Claiming,
question? Who
yeah,
do you have more trust or faith in doing the right thing? Is it
civilian scientists,
okay?
not the government.
Okay.
They lost their chance.
Okay.
They had 90 years.
Okay.
They chose
Don't also
greed.
a lot of the government with these private aerospace, don't they also, the reason how they get vetted is through knowing that they've gone through these government. So it's like hand in hand. It's like, but now they're civilian, but they've gone through it. So kind of you looking at both perspectives of like, you
Right.
know, they've been there.
Yeah. But what really is at stake is eminent domain. They could, and why I'm specifically, why Brandon is specifically not, he's not even, the guy has no time for active lobbying against the bill or eminent domain clause, but he had spoken out about it, saying, and Jacques Vallée has spoke out about it, stood up at the SALT or SAL conference and said, like, eminent domain, what does that mean? I have materials. Like, could the government just come and take what I have?
Yeah.
Right. And in Brandon's case, and Jacques Vallée's case, and many other people like Gary Nolan, and in all their cases, Avi Loeb, etc., so on and so forth, they have all put money into it out of their own pockets. So, and Skinwalker Ranch, what if the government just came and said, we're claiming this land?
Yeah.
After he's invested, not only, you can see by the technology, by the way, just what he's put on that ranch. Because I've had Chris Bartell on the show. What Bigelow had it set up as was not what we think. They barely had the surveillance cameras. It was very low tech. Very, very, very. A lot of Chris Bartell thinks a lot of the money from OSAP and that contract did not go to actually go to Skinwalker Ranch. It went to something else. But we won't get into that here. But so the eminent domain thing is Brandon just doesn't want them to be able to come and take Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair.
I agree on that. And so
would you want them to be able to come take your videos and your evidence that you're compiling, that you're having these experiences? Because you are all of a sudden on a watch list because you're having prolonged contact with these supposed malevolent beings. What that could happen if we start giving them blanket control.
Yeah. I mean, I also think, so what's your thought process on who has UAP and all that sort? Do you have like your suspicions on who?
Absolutely.
Who is it?
Lockheed.
Okay. So these private aerospace.
Absolutely.
So what's your solution for that then? Like, how do we
need to meet them halfway.
I agree.
We listen. If we threaten handcuffs, no one's coming forward.
Yep.
Shell game will be played.
You have to think about the person on the other side of it. And I think both
we have to incentivize bringing humanity into the next level of technological, like clean energy, right? We know it's there. We know people have built, Stanley Myers has built a car that could run on water. Why the fudge is that not being mass produced? Come on, guys. Yeah. Think for a second. Patents, thousands per year, get seized on alternative energy alone. And they get slapped with a national security order, meaning the person can only then do business with the United States government, no one else. Because if you do, and if it's treason if you do it with anyone else, because the patent has been seized under a national security order. Once they slap that on it, it's checkmate. So we need to be careful with where I'm willing to meet the military industrial complex halfway, but it needs to be halfway. way. So I want to keep the story on you though. So
No, you actually made it perfectly, because this message that I received, it was Matt Ford was talking about this. I think it was like a financial advisor about, that, and they were literally talking about like Northrop and, in coming forward and all this stuff. And I remember going outside, and so it's hard to describe it, but with these orbs, something like internally, this feeling, and then these thoughts just came into my head about how we need to stop these creating of these weapons and war profiteering and wars, because we will only lead to our destruction. And then I talk about what happened to the pyramids and why those civilizations failed. And for me, the message that hit me the most was, I need to forgive like everything that had happened to me, my family, or my friends, and they know what they had done. And it hit me because I wasn't talking to my family or friends. And then I felt this, like you mentioned in your previous product, the serendipitous, the most loving feeling. And at that point, orbs were just coming everywhere. And then they were, like I said, getting brighter and brighter, and then dimmer and dimmer, is why I was having these thoughts. And I remember going like this, like, I love you guys. And I'm like, this is the message that you guys have been trying to deliver, because I haven't had anything like that at all. And so it was the most like, I've never felt more loved in my life on that experience. It was the most surreal thing I could ever describe. And so for me, like having that, I didn't know what to do except for text my buddy who had experienced these orbs with, because it's like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? And I texted him. He's like, well, because I knew a guy named Tominaga, and he was in the government. Like, should I warn him and tell him about this whole thing? And then he's like, no, you'll think you're a kook and all that stuff. And it was interesting with this whole Chris Bledsoe experience was I didn't know what to do with this message, and these orbs will come into picture, and it's like they know what you're looking at when you're having these thoughts, or something like along those lines, where I was driving home from a dog park in Tanner Park, and I was looking out the windshield. And I'm like, what should I be doing with this message? And I'm like, should I be reaching out to someone? I feel like I need to be reaching out to someone. And then this thought of Chris Bledsoe came in my mind, and that's when an orb appeared. And this from a distance, but you can obviously see it getting bright and then dim out and close up. I'm like, if that isn't a sign, I don't know what is, with everything else. And I'm like, I think they want me to reach out to Chris. And so I reached out to Chris, but I haven't heard from him about this whole thing. And before I reached out to him, though, it was interesting. I sent you about what's his name? Russell Crowe, when you talked about his experiences with the music, and when he was at Rome and with his mother, who had passed away at the time, and the Swiss Guards band were playing a specific song where they only do like, it was classical music or something like that. And for some reason, when they were getting a private tour, because the Vatican offered it to him, and his mother had this relationship with her husband who had passed away with Rome, that she just felt like he was present there. And when they went up these elevators and the Swiss Guards band were playing, they noticed that the song that they were playing that they shouldn't be playing, because it was like a Wednesday and it was only like church music, and it was the Danny Boys, like the Irish song. And it was the most coincidental thing. And part of the reason why I shared that with you was before I was feeling the confidence to come forward, because of everything that I had gone through and just seeing these things, I just knew that there was a stigma attached to it. And I just was very hesitant. And coincidentally enough, I'd be on my podcast, and I love Hans Zimmer all the time. And when I'm having these thoughts in my head,
oh my God, Hans is I'm a huge movie buff and comic book fan. And Hans has done some of the most amazing scores. I'm also a filmmaker, so like,
oh yeah, I agree.
oh my God, he is a genius.
Yeah. So I I agree. Maybe, and something was telling me like, listen to Hans Zimmer's podcast, and so I was listening to it, and I was having
Wait, are you talking about Hans Zimmer, the musician?
the guy who makes all the soundtrack scores, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Okay, he has a podcast?
No, sorry. I meant the song. Sorry, his
Okay.
playlist. Excuse me. My
I'm
apologies.
sorry. I was like,
No, good
no
correction.
way he has a podcast.
No.
I want to listen.
I'd want to listen too. But I'm having these thoughts, and I'm like hesitant, and I was like, I'm not going to do this. This is like too much for me. And then the song "Coward" would coincidentally line up, and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm laughing because I'm like, that's kind of coincidental. And then like I was like later, I'm just like, should I be doing this? Should I be doing this? And for some reason, it coincidentally go, "No Time for Caution" or TikTok or time. And I'm just like, wow, that's sure cool.
All these synchronicities.
Yeah. No. It gets more. It gets more. And so I'm like, man, I should finally do this. So I ended up doing it and reaching out. But it was funny because a big monsoon kind of came coincidentally right around the time that it's finally had the courage to send it. I was like, man, this is all coincidental, but like a week later, I'm at this point, I'm just like feeling that there's something more happening where I'm feeling like a presence and I can't describe it. And something's telling me to go to Tanner Park. So if you're a Salt Lake City native, it's a dog park. And I sent you a video of kind of like the canyon. So there's a couple parts. So there's the trail side, and then the other side, there's a wooded area. Okay. So I'm bringing my dog and we're walking on the trail area, and it just had stormed that Saturday. So Saturday evening. And so no one was really there, and you kind of know who the people are going and stuff like that. I'm a very observant person, but I'm just feeling like there's some type of presence. And so I look across the little creek a ways, and in this wooded area where no one should be at, because no one goes back there, is this woman who I had never seen. And she comes out of the wooded area. I'm like, where the hell did you come from?
What color was she wearing?
She was wearing this like brown, it was like kind of like an overalls, but it was like a brown cloth that was kind of, there was various colors, but she was, I don't know, like how to describe it.
Did she seem out of place?
Oh, 100%. That's why I was like, where did you come from? And no, it gets weirder.
But was she, but no. No, I don't think you're hearing me. So, let me rephrase that. Did she seem out of time? Yeah. Was she interacting with the environment?
She was literally looking at the plants as if like she was meticulously looking at them, and it was the most elegant thing. And I'm like, man, is this like
was she there?
Oh,
or was this some sort of echo?
No. I will tell you. I'll tell you more to the story.
Ghost.
No, if she wasn't a ghost, I'll tell you this. So she's like grabbing these plants and like touching them and looking at them. And so she's playing around with them. And the thing that got me, like, I was just like, what the hell was, so I'm like, because at this point I'm just like, okay, where did she come from? She's looking at these plants. She's just like Mother Nature, whatever. And then she goes and she kneels down, and there's this like kind of burrow, like rocky area. And I kid you not, I see mice scurrying from their dens towards her. And I'm looking at her hands like, is she feeding them? No, I'm serious. And I'm looking at her. I'm like, what?
Swear to me.
I swear to God.
You don't have to swear to God. Swear to me.
Yeah, I swear to you, man. Because so it gets weirder.
There's some mice running toward her.
Yeah, they're scurrying to her because because I'm looking at her. She's kneeled down and they're coming towards her. I'm like, I've never seen, and this is wild.
She's kneeling?
Yeah, she's kneeled down. She's not fully kneeled, but she's like squatted down towards them. And I'm like, so at this point, focusing, engaged. I'm like, I've never seen that. And so then she comes over the tunnel where the water seeps out of, and now onto the side where everyone's normally at. And at this point, I'm fixated. I'm like, and something's telling me you should interact with her and talk with her. And so she walks by. I have my doggo Finn. She doesn't have a dog, by the way. Usually at Tanner Park, usually have dogs. And so she's walking past me, and something's just telling me you should talk with her. I'm like, okay. So I start walking towards her, and then like the Hans Zimmer thing, a song comes up, and it's like a dog chasing cars. And I'm laughing at myself. I'm like, we're at a dog park, and am I chasing? And I'm like, am I the dog? And I was like in my head, I'm like, what the hell? So I go up to her, and at this point, I'm like, are you like an animal whisperer? And with perfect English, she had like the bluest eyes I've seen, light blue eyes, you know, and she didn't seem like she belonged, but as I knew, like, I'm like, and she goes, oh, you mean the voles? You know? And I was like, yeah, so I had to Google what a vole was. It's like a meadow mouse. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, you know, she's like, oh, I'm like, do you do that often? She goes, no, that's only happened like a couple of times and brush it off. I'm like, no. I've never seen anything like that. And then she goes on to look at my dog Finn, and she goes, oh, he just seems so happy. And I'm like, thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, you probably understand that. Like, you're probably, you know, reading his mind or something. No.
She's probably, dude, she's probably some empath of sort, maybe healer. Like, did she have like an aura about her? Because you said she had the bluest eyes.
Yeah, I was gravitated.
Did you grab it? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's why it felt like I don't know necessarily if it was like an aura, but I was gravitated.
You were compelled to go. I mean, not many people, after seeing someone kneel and have what looks like mice run.
Oh no, they were mouse. I saw them.
Yeah,
and she vowed. She's like, "Oh, do you mean the voles?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "How'd you?"
Right,
you know?
but she even mentions them in a different. And what were those specifically?
Voles.
Voles, yeah.
My battery's about to die. 1 second. Sorry, I need to grab this. Sorry.
Actually, we can take a quick break. It'll be a 3-minute break. You get yourself situated. We'll be right back after this short ad. Today, we're brought to you by Adentia Herbals Biomine, guys. It has changed my life. Ad read. Adentia Herbals Biomine. Introducing the ultimate cognitive enhancement solution, BioMind. Today's video is exclusively brought to you by our sponsor, Adentia Herbals. Unlock your brain's full potential with a powerful blend of 9 meticulously selected plants and mushrooms, each backed by peer-reviewed research for their cognitive boosting benefits and safety. Adentia Herbals formula combines organic full-spectrum powders and potent standardized extracts, ensuring that you receive the optimal concentration of each ingredient's cognitive enhancing compound, carefully selecting the most desirable parts of each plant and mushroom to create a harmonious blend that supports your mental clarity and focus. But that's not all. They infuse each bottle with personal intention of improving the lives, the minds, and overall greatness of each of their customers. Because of their commitment to your well-being every step of the way, you're going to get an exclusive 25% off your order via www.adentiaherbals.com using our code TOTALDISCLOSURE at checkout. All the links will be in the description or on the screen. All right, we're back. So,
so we're talking about this woman.
yeah. So she references them by their true name as well.
Yeah, because I was like,
she doesn't just call mouses or mice. She calls them by the, like, you had to literally go look it up. You didn't know the word, and she did.
Yeah,
and she was able to almost whisper, and then she's talking about your dog's feelings, and it seems, I don't know, you came into contact with, I think, I wouldn't be surprised if you see that person again.
I wouldn't be surprised either. And it was interesting, because then she goes on to say, like, because she didn't have a dog, she's like, oh, I just like to come here to see the dogs. I don't have one myself. I was like, okay, like I could see that. But it gets more like, so I was explaining that day, I just was having just this feeling, and so I go home and I taking my dog to the park, but I live next to Liberty Park, and so something just told me like, you need to go to Liberty Park and stuff like that. And I put my dog inside, and I got these like meta glasses to record, so when I'm seeing these orbs, it's a better visual. But I ended up like trying them last night, and they kind of suck. So I need your equipment here, Tyler, to help me out with. But I ended up getting these meta glasses, so I've been wearing them and listening to music. And throughout that whole time, with the engagement of the like the Hans Zimmer playlist and stuff like that, so I'm and walking towards Liberty Park, and something just kind of was just like, you know what, I need to ask, like, have you been like, with these orbs and stuff? I'm just thinking, like, have you been interacting, and you've been trying to encourage me to come out with this message and all that sorts through these, it feels like, through these songs. And then at Tanner Park, with that woman like a dog chasing cars, I'm like, are you interacting with me through like Spotify, what I've been listening to? And I'm not thinking I'm going to get I'm thinking, this is all just coincidental. And within seconds after having that thought, and I know no one else had this capability because this is all internally, I get a song on the playlist that I've never heard before. And so I'm like, what is this? And so I turn it around, and the title of the song is God Sent a Theme.
Get the
Antonio Pinto. No. Like, I was
my
stomach just dropped.
I need you to swear on the Total Disclosure Bible.
I'm getting a tattoos of Nick. I need to tell you more and more of what happened here. You there?
So you got to swear on the Total Disclosure Bible.
I swear on the Total Disclosure Bible. I swear, my friends, I've told this story.
I'll take it.
Oh no!
You should start screenshotting that stuff and taking videos of yourself.
Hearing this, I was so overwhelmed of what was happening, and my heart, like my because I was thinking about the pain that I had gone through this past year of what had happened to me. And so at this point, I'm just having this conversation in my head. I'm like, if this is God, why did you do this to me? Like, I had the girlfriend, I had the love of my life here with me. Like, I wanted to marry her, and with my family, I pushed them away, and all this sorts, and all the trauma that had happened to me. Why did you do this? And I kid you not, the song kicks in, and the next song of it is titled Great Sacrifices by Daniel Siralizzi, or Litzo. And I'm just at this point like bawling, just being like, I didn't deserve this. Like, I wanted to marry Shayla. Like, that's my most important person in my life. And like,
yeah.
I was like, I lost her because of this whole thing. And the next song of it was Great Sacrifice by Clinton Shorter.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I'm up on the top of the hill at Liberty Park by myself, and I don't have my glasses on because I'm just so overwhelmed of what I had just witnessed and experienced. Because
I'm overwhelmed just listening.
No one else had what I had in, like, no one. Those were only in my internal thoughts. There's no fucking way no one would have been able to have done any of that and timed it up coincidentally.
No. Listen, man. If there's one thing I can 1,000% back you up on, is me and my girlfriend, we have it happen to us on a daily. I would say the synchronicity, it's to a point where it's almost alarming. So I understand, dude, what you're doing is you're putting, so right, if we look at consciousness and we think about it like this, and some of my past experiences have led me to believe that this may be kind of along the lines of a theory, but almost one that explains. So I think our consciousness is like not because it's not the source, right? It's the receiver. So the signal, right? If we want to look at it like a radio, right? A radio broadcasts, the signal is always there. You could smash the radio, break it apart, but the signal, it's still there, right? So what you're doing is you're putting your consciousness out and you're getting feedback. You're interacting and you're getting the feedback. So, and it's been happening to us too. And we're asking for it. So again, and listen, I haven't talked about this. I'm only talking about it to back you up and saying that you're not the route you're going. Like, I know it's hard for people to believe, but it's real.
Yeah,
it's real.
I know what I saw, and I 100% to this day. And the thing that I was explaining too is when I put the glasses on. Do you know that video I sent you? On the hill.
Yep.
So I was thinking of Shayla and everything that had happened, and then something told me to put on those glasses, and so I'm by myself looking, because I thought they were going to tell me like an orb was coming, because that's generally sometimes what will happen. So they said, so I start recording it, and that's when some random stranger,
walked up to you saying, "Oh my God." Yep. Now when I put it into context.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Now oh my God. Because remember when I texted you back, I was like, what am I looking for? What am I getting out of this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, the context of what he says, clear as day.
Yep.
He says something about females. It was.
Yeah, don't date them. Like,
yeah, it was a bit vulgar in its nature, but he says something along the lines of, "Don't date them; they're just going to cheat on you," or something like that.
Yeah.
And wow, the context of that now seems way different.
And that was right when everything was. That's what I'm saying. It's the most surreal experience. I was having a hard time putting into words like what I had just witnessed.
Wow. Because with that one, now I can feel that.
Yeah.
I can feel that, because I genuinely was like, I watched the whole video and I was like,
what is this?
And honestly, I was like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand what the meaning of that was. I was like, was I looking for something in like an orb or something?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's what I first thought it was.
Context of it. And oh my God. Wow. So I guess I'll have to play that one right here. But it's like 114.
Yeah.
But yeah. So listen, I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
I think because you've told the stories now.
I got a few more.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna bait you here. I'm gonna give you an open-ended question. So, what is contact? I've always wondered, right? What is contact with another species? What that would look like? What kind of form that would take? Now, it could take physical, right? We've heard of others that are like telepathic. It seems like yours is through these sightings, but also through these synchronicities. So what do you think you're dealing with here?
I know something is interacting. I can tell you with the orbs, like one late at night,
I was looking out in the stars, and when I finally had this feeling that, you know, being a pharmacist is very valid. Sorry, my dog's here. Very validating for me. But then I'm like, is this whole going through this trauma of everything that I had dealt with, as well as just these new experiences with these orbs, is this is my purpose? And I have it on my Instagram of this light flicker, and it was similar to Chris Bledsoe's, but it starts, you know, and as soon as I had that thought, it starts blinking and blinking and blinking and blinking, and then at like 50 seconds in the video, you see something come in right to the right of it, and it was like one of those moments where it's like, this is why I was put on Earth, is to bring up this topic and, you know, understand that I am forgiving the people who have done things to me. And I'm not blaming my family or friends or anything like that, but it's coming through for forgiveness and bringing people together and loving each other. And instead of like, you know, wars and war profiteering, that we have to come together. We're at an existential crisis is what I was getting at. And so it's through those contacts where I have it on my most recent Instagram too, of just like them like responding to me like conscientiously, like they are responding. And when you say contact, I think it could be through a matter of ways, you know, but clearly conscientiousness is something that we just really haven't looked at, you know, with like the Schrodinger effect.
Well, people are so afraid. Scientists are so afraid to dabble on consciousness. Like,
do you think it's a career ender?
Yeah,
I think so too. I think
right now, if you're a scientist who's trying to get funding for consciousness, and if it's not a secret government program, no, they will laugh you the out of the room.
And that's the saddest thing, because people like myself who are civilians are experiencing this. Shouldn't we be looking at this at a scientific approach?
No, because they said they've determined that, you know, it's a giant boys club, right? That's what science has become, is mainstream science, at least. It's a boys club of people who don't want to challenge the status quo. They don't want to challenge the narrative because they don't want to be the one who's ostracized and isn't getting their funding.
Yeah.
They're not the one. They're the ones they want to stay right inside the lines of what's acceptable. And even if they ponder these things, they don't do it at work. Right?
Here's the thing, Tyler.
To think that they don't think about what everyone else thinks about, like religion, you know, like what happens after we die. Because that's religion in my mind is it equals the question of why we're here. What happens to us after death? Those are the existential questions that religion was built to try to make people comfortable with. But I think there's such a bigger story than even what our current religions could even fathom. I think they all have a little piece of the puzzle, and I think it's us being factionalized. That's the fucking problem. If we all step back, dissolve the lines on that fake ass map, and started working together, I know it would not be overnight. This sounds like, you know, but if we could all magically just get along, literally magically get along, there would be no stopping the human race.
Mm-hmm. We have to come together.
And think about it like, and that's where religion can come in handy, because then we have stories like, all right, do you need an example, everyone? Well, the Tower of Babel. Man got too close to God. God struck man down, divided their languages, split them up, so they could not convene and build themselves back up. Think about it. Just think about it. Right? So there are clearly truths to legend. We just have to separate the wheat from the chaff, and you have to understand what it means to you. Not to Joe, not to Billy, but to you. And Andy, what does it mean to you What is happening to you meaning to you?
You know, I think there is a purpose for why I'm here, and they're helping me guiding me. And they're also, I don't know. I think for me, like, I have nothing but sheer positivity towards this whole, you know, these orbs and all that sorts. And they seem to be, you know, obviously knowing every move that I'm making of some sort. So I know for a fact that they know well in advance what I'm going to be doing. And I can't, it's hard to like kind of describe that, but from my experiences with everything, they know everything that you're going to be doing before you do it. And they also understand
So it's almost, I don't mean to, I'm so sorry. I cut you off. Keep going.
No, it's fine. If you want to clarify,
No,
sometimes I start
keep going.
rambling,
Keep going. I'm
and
so
you need
sorry.
to tell me to shut the hell up and talk about it.
No. I have a bad habit of interrupting, and I need to be better with that. So I'm calling myself out right now. I think I've done it to you like twice, and I apologize.
I haven't noticed, so don't worry about it.
But that's how I get. I get in like discussion mode. Like it's like and that's what I think, you know, is different about my show than others. Like I fully get into a conversation with someone. I don't just have questions and then, all right, answer, question, answer, question, answer, right? It's like it's a back and forth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
I appreciate
but
that.
again, it is supposed to be about you.
No, I want to have a discussion because I've been having these internal like experiences as well as
sometimes it's good to flesh it out with somebody.
Yeah, no, that's why I kind of wanted to talk to you too, to see your perspective. I mean, you've been experienced. I've been trying to reach out. I appreciate you because I've been reaching out to multiple people to try to get this out or the story be told, but also kind of getting perspective. And you were the one person who actually responded. So I want to thank you for that, because if it's without you, I don't think anyone would really be hearing what I've been experiencing, because for some reason I haven't been getting
well, people in this community tend to get high on their horses.
Yeah.
And they don't want to, they kind of, I don't know, it's weird, but unless you're like military, you're just part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're just another experiencer.
Mm-hmm.
So as hard as that is to hear,
yeah,
that's the way they see it.
Yeah.
Right? Like unless you're military and you have like FLIR footage or like build your case up, dude. And that's what we're doing. We're gonna build your case up, right?
Come to you. I want to show you like what I've been experiencing. That's
right.
That's how much confidence
continue.
I have.
Continue, because we only have so much time left. I do have to get going, but so pick one last story to get to now, and if you'd like, we can do a part 2 maybe in like a month or so.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
trying to think of like, because the one I
sent
you.
What do you? Yeah. So let me. I'll feed you. So, again, I want to go back to this. What do you think you're? So, we talk about Stephen Greer thinks that everything seems to be nice, right? If they're getting here and they're interdimensional, well, they've advanced past war, and they're always going to be benevolent or on your side, in your favor. I don't think that's the way we should look at this, because even if there's a neutral party, right, one that literally doesn't care about our existence, it doesn't impact them. They don't like indifference. Also, doesn't mean malevolent. So there's a difference between that. There's a fine line, but indifference can be looked at as almost a threat, because it's like, all right, well, if you're not with us, you're against us. But that's dangerous in a military. We can't look at this like a military would. We need to look at this like a species would.
Yeah. Like, what would Colonel Nell said, like, everyone has resources and all that sorts. And,
Right.
is there,
Because I hate when people make the comparison. Oh, we're just like ants to them. No, we're not. No, we're not. We're human beings. Our world, we've manipulated it. We have done things that clearly are rare in the solar system.
But is it rare to them? Like, have they already done that? You're right.
Right. But I'm saying there's no way they look at us like ants, right? The way we look at ants, as like, that would mean like stepping on us, like on their way to work. Like, I mean, that's not clearly
they're interacting
not
with
the
us
case.
conscientiously of some sorts. And so
but clearly that's not the case. They're not stepping on us on our way to work.
Yeah.
They're not, we're still here having the conversation. They haven't wiped us off the map yet. We're still essentially here. So I'm going to go with that. There's probably some good, some bad, and some indifferent. And that's just the way it is.
Can I ask you this? Do you think they're walking among us?
Yes.
I do too. I'll tell you a story. Well, I don't know if it's
your story earlier is proof of that.
No, this is a different one.
I'm saying your story earlier is proof of
that. In this, so Richard Dolan, the reason why I was thinking about this,
love him.
Yeah. So he talks about the story, like Western Pennsylvania at the church, and, the woman, the really model looking blonde and, male go into the church, and they're all, dressed elegantly and, all that sorts. But they didn't seem to know what they were doing in the church adequately. So just kind of for context there, I love hooping. If we weren't recording, I'd be hooping right now. I hoop like basically every day. So
what the hell is that?
Basketball.
Oh,
the Celtics won the championship this year.
Yeah, I don't. I used to be like big into sports. Basketball never won. But hooping, I've never.
Okay.
Like, I thought you meant hula hooping.
Oh,
I really
gotcha. So let me give you context of this. So we're playing.
We call it out here balling.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I was playing at the rec center, and I play with a bunch of regulars. So a guy who I had played intramurals with, if you know the context of like shooting for teams, so you make one, you go on one team, and alternating it, right? So give me perspective. So I make it, and then my buddy makes it. And so a couple of guys that we had never seen before start shooting, and they look normal white kids, in Utah, of course. And he shoots a shot. And usually if you play basketball enough, like, okay, what's a guy who's never played basketball versus someone who has, and he has good form on his free throw, and he sinks it. And so at the time, I'm like, okay, go to my buddy's team. And my buddy's like encouraging him, like, hey, come over here. And he's literally looking at eye contact to my buddy. And we're like, hey, all the, physical body language, and as well as the verbal communications, like, you're supposed to be on his team. Literally turns around, gets back in the line. And we're like, what the hell did that just happen? That was so weird. Like, and we're laughing at each other. Like, does the guy not like you? Like, what's going on here? And so then his other buddy, that they look very identical, he shoots his shot, does this exact same thing, sinks it. And since his buddy didn't go on the team, we're like, okay, now you're going to go on my buddy's team now, since he didn't want to make it. And so we do the exact same thing of like, hey, you're supposed to be over there, looks at him eye contact wise, and just gets back in the line. And we're like, what the hell? And my buddy and I are laughing because I'm like, he must not like you. He wants to be on my team or something. And we're like, yeah, that's so weird. So at this point, now everyone's alternating teams. There's more and more. And now they're back in the front of the line shooting free throws. But now there's more people on each team. But at this time, if he makes it, he's still going to be on my buddy's team. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, he's going to miss the shot for sure, because he doesn't want to be on the team. So he sinks it, does the exact same thing. And at this point, there's more people. So there's more of this like social interaction. They're like, oh, you're on our team. And you know what he does? He looks at him and goes, oh, so that's what we're supposed to be doing.
What?
Yeah.
What?
And so
What?
we're like, what the fuck? So we're laughing. And my buddy on the other, because I've told him this story, because Ben, he goes, I have never seen that happen in my life. And I'm laughing because I'm like, I haven't either. So his other buddy is now in line, and he can make it, and he can go on the same team basically. And he shoots it, and he kind of gives the nod of approval. Oh, that's what we're doing. We're like, what the hell is going on? And these guys, so we started to play, and they're making the shots, or they're playing like fundamental basketball. So you know what they're doing, but they're just doing some weird things where you're like, what's going on? Like, for instance, we're checking the ball up, and like the guy is now thinking like he's on defense when he should be on offense, or something along those lines. Something like really
just like fumbling around.
Yeah, but he knew so this is where it's like okay,
just getting by.
Yeah, but he can shoot, but he can shoot, but he can. Here's the thing: he could shoot, and he can dribble, and he could pass more competently than someone who's never played before. So it's like the disconnect was there of like, okay, you can shoot, pass, play, but you're just doing some weird things that don't make any sense. And it came a point where my other buddy who was on his team, Jag, goes, when he's talking about, he's like, "Have you ever played basketball before in your life?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, all the time," you know. And so we're like, "Huh, that's weird." So it came a point where he turns the ball over. Now, I'm on the opposite side of the court, okay? And I'm thinking of this whole Richard Dolan story of, aliens among us and stuff. And so he's on the opposite side. And so I'm on the corner, and I point to my buddy Alec, and I'm like, that guy's an alien. And there's like a very soft tone. So it was only me and him could hear it. And they're on the opposite side of the court. And I kid you not, he sprints out the gym and goes and leaves. Doesn't pick up his bag or nothing. And I look at my buddy Jag, because Jag was on the other side. He's like, I don't know. He just got bug-eyed and left. And I was like, he was weird. And we haven't seen him since.
I'm sorry.
So there's no way he would have heard me in the middle of the pickup game. Literally, without grabbing his phone, nothing, no bag, nothing. Literally walks out of the gym and leaves. And I was watching it because I kind of felt like, did I just like say something?
I'm swearing.
Dude, I have
swear on the total disclosure Bible.
I swear on the total. Why do you think I feel so confident coming forward about this stuff?
Dude, you're like a main character in a fucking short film I want to make. I think that's what we're gonna do. This is insanity. If what you're saying is 100% true,
you can call it text Jag, and then if you can talk about corroborate
this.
They didn't. So Ben and Jag weren't there, like when I was pointing to Alec when I said that, but they knew the exact time he walked out, and he's like, "Dude, that was weird." And I told him the story, and they're like, "Yeah, like,
yeah, okay."
But
right. Yeah, well, we'll talk. Okay.
So
that is really odd.
Yeah, I felt bad. I was like, did I like say, I was like,
did it echo? And is there any chance that it echoed?
There's no way. He was on. It's a loud gym. It's a loud gym, and they're on the opposite side of the court, and I'm in the corner, and I literally lean over, and I'm like, that guy's in. And then he walks out and leaves. And even if he heard that, why would he leave? Who cares? Like, why are you running out of the gym?
Because he got exposed. You fucking figured it out. I don't know.
Frank Richard.
Maybe he has super hearing, and he was literally just, like that. I think. I don't know. I definitely want to have another conversation with you. So we'll do a part 2 on this. Maybe sooner than a month, because I would like to. There's a lot more I want to talk about. But
hey man, if you want to come out and just see these things with me,
I don't have it like that yet.
Yeah,
where I can just pick up and go. But
right.
I will plan something accordingly. But we will talk. But how? So it's safe to say that. So you're seeing orbs, and this is just a recap for the audience. Mm-hmm. So your name is Andy Tominaga.
Yeah.
Tominaga.
Yeah.
Andy Tominaga.
Yep.
You're from Salt Lake, Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Salt Lake City.
Yep. Go Utes.
And you're seeing orbs on a consistent basis. And some sort of interaction is happening on a weird conscious level through technology. Ah, God, I knew it. The camera's going to cut
You said
out.
technology, and there it is.
Yep. There it is, failing.
Yeah.
But I think you have a wild story, dude, and I would love to dig into it further. Where can people follow you and what you're doing? What's your
I mean, I'm not trying to do this whole like social
No.
media thing.
I do
I'm
it.
just,
I do it every single for
I-
every single person, just so people can follow along.
my Instagram is just my first and last name. Let me check. But I posted some of the orbs. I can post more.
I'll put all the links in the description below for anyone who wants to follow him. But wow. You definitely have an interesting experience or story and I think I want to hear more. So wow, what a show. Perfect show, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you letting me share everything that I've gone through, because it's been a handful.
I don't think we've got through everything. There's a lot more to unpack, but I think there's some cool things that we can talk about. So with that being said, guys, make sure to like, share, subscribe. And if you're listening on one of those great podcast platforms, make sure to leave a review. It's free. It takes a couple, 2 seconds, not even. Leave a review, 5 stars, and write a review on Apple or Spotify. Those are the only 2 places that I know that you can write a review. So do that. It takes, like I said, no time. It's free, and it helps us so much. You have no idea. It really, really, really does. And if you want to help support the channel monetarily, we are now accepting YouTube channel members. We're working on getting some behind the scenes content worked up, and once we hit a certain threshold, then we'll start doing some like live member only streams. But thank you, Andy, for coming on the show. We'll see you soon, and we'll talk more. But for everyone else, have a good night, and we'll see you on the other side.